Where we're about to show you, the District Brew Yards in Chicago, is different from any place we've ever been for a variety of reasons. First, it begins with this. You come in the door, you check in, and they give you, check this out, a District Brew Yards card. This is going to be very important. Let me show you inside. So there's the gift shop here, right? And they've got, of course, all of the packaged beer that they make, some of the beer that they're making here. This is what makes it very different. It's not just one brewery, it's 4 breweries, all under one roof. And remember the card I was telling you about? This is where it gets crazy. So the card has funds on it, right? I've already put my funds on it. I verify that I'm over the age of 21. It's always nice to be asked. All right, so there's no bartenders here, which means, well, I guess you don't have to tip anyone, but it also means you're the one in charge. So what glass am I gonna use? That's up to me. I've selected this guy. So now it's up to me at this Around the Bend station. Which beer do I want? Okay, Puffing Billy, a brown ale with cocoa nibs. That sounds up my alley. And it tells me how much it costs per ounce, right? So 55 cents per ounce, the ABV is 6.9, IBU of 29. Yeah, that's right up my alley. So I put the card right here. The card is there, and now I'm in business. I just pour whatever I think is an appropriate amount. If I want to fill it all the way up, I suppose I could. I just want to taste, and they're okay with that. In fact, they encourage that. So you can try a little bit of everything. You can do your own little beer festival here. Or if you find something that you've fallen in love with and you just want 1 or 2 of those, go nuts. Again, the key here at the District Brew Yards is all these decisions are completely up to you. Here's my problem with the District Brew Yards. Can I start off, Steve, with my problem?
I don't like starting with a negative, but by all means.
No, not a negative.
Okay.
Not a negative. It's just my problem.
Your issue.
I don't understand why there aren't more places like this everywhere across America. This is something, when I came here last summer with a bunch of buddies, I just thought, this place just makes so much sense in terms of what it is that you're doing. And what you're doing is very different from anyone else is doing, in that there are not 1, not 2, not even 3. There are 4 different breweries all operating under the same roof.
Right.
This is a collaboration, a co-op, not a cooperative.
A collective, if you will.
A collective.
Yes.
So it's like the Borg, but in a good way.
Yeah. Well, when I first got the idea a few years ago, I went into Revival Food Hall. I don't know if you've been there.
No, is that in Chicago?
It's in Chicago.
Okay.
It's in the Loop, and it was really one of the first food halls, upscale food halls. You know, before we had food courts, now we have food halls.
So imagine the food court at the mall. This is fancier than that.
Be a fancy chef-driven.
Okay.
If you like ramen, if you like poke, if you like really nice sandwiches, you'd go there. And I started thinking about it, how come there's no food hall for beer? And that was really the inspiration. And we had been working with several breweries, including Around the Bend, ATB, with making their beer for them. So I approached Dan at Around the Bend. I said, what do you think about this? And he thought it was a great idea. And then it was a matter of, okay, how can we get other breweries involved, and how can we make this happen? So it's a long process.
Here's where I imagine people would shoot you down immediately. People that aren't, buying into the concept.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, you're telling me you want me to have my brewery under the same roof with 3 other breweries. I'm thinking, well, that's just competition, right? Like, that's not good for me. What if I'm in 4th place? That's not the mindset. That's not at all what goes on here, right? Everyone buys in, but they buy in because
we're all together, we're collaborating, we're hopefully making everybody else's beer or brewery better.
Right.
There is a sense of a little bit of competition, but at the same time we're competing with ourselves more than we are with anybody else. And I feel like we're all pulling on the same side of the rope. So it's really hard out there, it's really competitive, and if you think about it, having all of these different breweries with different customers, different fans, I think we all introduce our fans to their beer, they introduce their fans to our beer, so it actually works better together.
That's something about beer that is just always, it continues to just amaze me, the ability, and you don't necessarily have to be working all together. In the same neighborhood, having more breweries is better for all breweries. What you've done is take that model and put it all under one roof.
That's right.
Which just makes, when you're here and you see it, and normally this place is packed full of patrons. We're here in the middle of the day just before they open up, but it just makes so much sense when you're here. On paper, I don't think it would make sense to somebody that isn't aware of how people in the beer industry, especially the craft beer industry, kind of regard each other and just want to make sure they're all making really good beer.
Well, we knew we wanted to be in an area where there were other breweries because of what you said. People tend to do crawls. They'll tend to go to one brewery to the next, and then by doing it here, it's also there's the food hall idea and there's also the beer festival idea.
Right.
I'm sure you've been to a million beer festivals. People are so happy when they're at a beer festival, and I think that's the thing when I walk in this place when we're full and we're busy. The satisfaction and the excitement on everybody's face, like you described, it's palpable. It's incredible. People get so excited about being here because it's someone called it frozen yogurt for adults.
Right.
That's the idea. So.
Well, that's the other thing that the step that I think is really genius in your idea is the pour your own model means I can sample all of them. Right. I mean, I could have an ounce or two of every one of the beers that you have here. If I want to do my own personal beer festival, or if I fall in love with a beer, I can say, no, that's it. I'm going to just anchor to that all night long. The idea to do pour your own and not have like a bartender, because you are missing out a little bit on having somebody say, okay, this is the style, this is what we're going for. You don't really have that going on.
Well, we actually do on the weekends, and then during the week we have one, we call them beer guides.
You have people here that are...
We have people here that
beer
are,
guides.
Yeah, that are talking to people about the beer, asking them what they like, and then helping them navigate really the pour your own.
Right.
And I think that really alleviates some of the issues with people not being able to pour their own. But I think the other thing that's interesting, you said people can try a little bit. We totally believe that. Our philosophy is no one gets between you and your beer, and also no judgment.
Right.
Because I think what happens, a lot of times people are a little intimidated, and they don't, like some people say, I want to get a Saison, and maybe a bartender might say, you don't want the hoppiest beer, don't you want an IPA?
Right.
So I really feel like, not that everybody does that, but I really feel like when people are here, they have the opportunity to explore, and they don't feel judged because of what they like.